Tucker Carlson, motherfucker.
Anybody in charge can make you shut up when you criticize them or stand in the way of their aims. So in case you don't think this can come to the United States, one final clip, and it's a sad one, and it comes from the UK.
Welcome to another video. In this channel, we sometimes react to the goats of freedom. You know, the ones that defend free markets, free society, free speech.
Now, the UK, obviously the country that gave birth to ours, a country so similar to ours and so close, 6 hours by plane overnight, that we don't really think of it as fully foreign. It's not like going to Malaysia or Burundi or even France. It's an English-speaking country whose customs are recognizable, whose government and common law form the basis of our government and our law. Everything about England seems like home, but 3 degrees off. And yet the UK has become a police state. And if you don't believe that, if you think that's just hyperbole designed to whip you into a frenzy, here's a stat that we checked, and it's hard even to believe this is true, but this is true. 2023, so like a year and a half ago. How many people do you think were arrested in the United Kingdom for speech violations, arrested by the police, handcuffed and brought to jail in 2023? A couple dozen, you know, the ones you see on X, the ones Fox News talks about. How many people in that year were arrested for saying things the government didn't want them to say? What's your guess?
Pause the video and leave a comment. Let's see if you were right or wrong.
Yes, is it more than 12,000? Because that's the answer, more than 12,000. Wow, that seems like a lot. Is that a lot? It's kind of hard to know, right? Okay, well, let's compare it to the number, the widely agreed upon number, from the most totalitarian country in the world. A country so lacking in basic freedom, a country run by a madman, a country that's so evil, we're literally at war with that country right now, just on principle, because we so disapprove of how they treat their people. And that country, of course, is Russia under Vladimir Putin. So if the UK handcuffed 12,000, more than 12,000 people in 1 year for saying things the government didn't like, how many were arrested in Russia, a country with twice the population of the UK? Oh, we happen to have the number. 3,319. So to restate, more than 12,000 people arrested in the United Kingdom, England, in 1 year for speech code violations, 3,300 arrested in Russia, a country with twice the population. So that tells you, you don't think totalitarianism can come to the Anglosphere? Oh, it already has. We haven't even touched on Australia, New Zealand, Canada. In some ways, even worse.
By the way, this whole monologue is amazing. Don't you feel bad about people that don't listen to Tucker Carlson or Jordan Peterson because they believed what the mainstream media tells us about these guys? This was Tucker Carlson, the recent episode that he interviewed journalist Michael Shellenberger. I'll leave the link to the entire video below for you to watch. But the whole topic is free speech, freedom of speech.
But what does it look like? What is the face of hate crime prosecution? What does it actually look like when a citizen is arrested for saying something the government doesn't like? This video is not from China. It's from the United Kingdom. This is a British veteran being arrested for offending the government. Watch.
The police would realise how ridiculous this is. It is. Look, I'm trying to come to this.
What did it need to come to?
Tell us why you escalated it to this level, because I don't understand. I posted something that he posted. You come to arrest me. You don't arrest him. Why has it come to this? Why am I in cuffs? Because there's something he shared, then I shared.
Because someone has been caused, obviously, anxiety based upon your social media page. That's
not his.
why you've been arrested.
Oh, yes. The velvet-wrapped jackboot of British fascism. You're being arrested because someone has been caused anxiety by your views. Notice that someone is never identified, and of course the answer is someone in power. Someone in the government, or someone who funds the government, someone close to the government, someone who has a lot more power than you, didn't like what you were saying, felt anxious about what you were saying. And so unfortunately, we're going to have to handcuff you and bring you to jail.
Bro, the situation in the UK is pretty crazy for those who have been following on X, because that's apparently the only place that's showing these absurdities, or, you know, a few independent journalists here and there. What the fuck? Like that comedian, Graham Lennon, who has been arrested for like saying something that it's slightly offensive to trans people. Like just words, literally words, people are being arrested over. I fear for the future when, you know, Great Britain, a country who actually ended slavery, the birthplace of Churchill, the birthplace of Thatcher, and so many others. When England is going through this, is there any hope for the rest of us?
That happened this year. That's from January. And it happens every single day. More than 12,000 people arrested every single year for criticizing their government in the UK. Our closest ally, with whom we share intelligence on every level. British intelligence, I know everyone's spun up about Mossad, very close to Mossad. We're closer to British intelligence. That's the country we're partnering with to spy on our respective populations. Yeah. So it's really, really simple. If your government is willing to arrest you for saying things that they don't like, if your government is arresting you for criticizing them, one way or another, you need a new government. If there is any justification for revolution, it's that. That's unacceptable. That's tyranny. A government that does that is not a legitimate government. It has absolutely no right to do that, and it should be stopped from doing that immediately. That's the red line right there.
Now, this is why they don't like Tucker. You see now? This is exactly why powerful people, the status quo, doesn't like Tucker.
Michael Shellenberger is one of the great reporters in the United States, a friend of ours, and someone who, as a former liberal, has probably thought about speech for more years and with more clarity than probably anyone I know. And so we're so grateful to have him on to assess the state of free speech in the United States 2 weeks after Charlie Kirk's assassination. Mike, thanks very much for coming on. Are you worried?
I'm very worried. I mean, I think what's maybe undersaid recently is that, you know, assassination is the ultimate form of censorship. You know, and it comes from the same place. You know, I think that's what everybody senses about it, is that there had been efforts, you know, to censor, you know, and they had, I think, censored Charlie Kirk, obviously. I mean, the Twitter files, we discovered that he was on a blacklist. There was obviously huge attempts to keep him out of universities. He had already had, you know, many death threats, which is not a direct form of government censorship, but these are societal demands that he be silenced. And then at a global institutional level, yeah, it's a very disturbing trend that we're seeing. I mean, I think there's two things happening. There's both a organic kind of demand.
Let me stop there first. First, talk about Shellenberger. He's a great journalist. If you don't follow him, I highly recommend. He is on Twitter and all that jazz, but he has a Substack newsletter called Public, and he was one of the responsible journalists for the Twitter files, not only in the US but in Brazil, my country, and many others. He has like a big picture view of the whole censorship advances worldwide, not just in the US. Are you surprised that Charlie Kirk was shadow banned on Twitter before Elon bought it? I'm not surprised. And as Shellenberger says here, the ultimate attempt on free speech is assassination. When I posted a video about Charlie Kirk's death, because obviously it impacted me and any of us that care about freedom, I was very happy with the response to that video. Very, very happy. I have to say, I have the best followers here on YouTube, and I thank you. But yeah, there was one person that did say that, to kind of justified his murder because he propagated hate speech, which is like, there's nothing more hateful than taking someone's life. How can you be talking about hate speech? Like, that, it doesn't exist. By the way, that's what Tucker's monologue is in this episode. So go back and watch.
And from powerful people like the kind that you were describing, where a politician just really, I think it was the Moskowitz, where you just kind of can't stand something and they just want to see something taken down. And you see that from groups and politicians. And then there's more of an inorganic demand for censorship, which we've labeled the censorship industrial complex. You can call it the censorship industry. And that is in place in the European Union, in Britain, in Brazil. California would like to have that. Basically, all the Five Eyes countries are pursuing that. And their strategy, I think, is pretty clear at this point, is to encircle the United States and to make our tech platforms censor along the lines that they would like to, so that they can achieve censorship through the back door. And this has always been their strategy because they know that the First Amendment is a major obstacle for them since it requires that the people have really radical levels of free speech that no country has ever come close to. And as you said, based on this idea of natural rights that we are granted by our creator, not given to us by the government. The speech comes before the government. The speech is how we constitute our government. Right. Whereas in Europe and everywhere else, the government had gradually, let people say certain things. You have to petition the king. Oh, king, can we criticize you for sleeping with Anne Boleyn? And the king would decide whether that would be okay or not. And that's how it would occur.
I have to commend the United States for the First Amendment. It's admirable. And no other country has come close to it. And that's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate. That's right. Like, the idea of natural rights, it's so good. I talked about it in a former edition of my newsletter, by the way, link down below if you want to subscribe to. When your rights come from the government, that means they can take them away from you at any time. But when your rights come from God, whether you believe God or not, doesn't matter. It's like an idea, something bigger, something way bigger than any government. Then when your rights come from God, no government can take them away from you. So I wish every country had a First Amendment.
And the creators of this amazing country, and as you work on free speech, I've only worked on it now for really 2.5 years. I'm a newbie to the issue. But one of the things you just really appreciate is really how radical and powerful and strong that commitment to the First Amendment was. It's not just hype. You might just think, is that just patriotic hype from Americans? It's not. When you read the history of free speech over 2,500 years, going back to Socrates, who was put to death for things that he said, also an act of censorship, then you realize just how radical and how beautiful the First Amendment is. Because the Americans that created our country said, we don't want to have a country. We don't want to have a government if we can't have full free speech with some very narrow exceptions. And so the exceptions now, they sort of say, well, the internet changed everything. That's what you hear from. That's what I hear from my progressive friends heard it on Martha's Vineyard of all places. It's all changed with the internet. It's too dangerous to allow this high level of free speech. We have to change things. Well, Tucker, to put in context how crazy that is, our Supreme Court has ruled not once but twice that Nazis can march through neighborhoods not only of Jewish Americans but of Holocaust survivors, and that the line where the line that gets crossed between speech and actual violence is when I say go kill that person there,
Right.
or go light that house on fire. It's when the speech becomes part of the action, or coordinating an assassination or something. Of course, language in that context has to be illegal because it's part of breaking the law. But marching through a neighborhood with the most vile ideology is something that the Supreme Court has twice upheld. Well, now we're supposed to believe that some racist comments on a Facebook post, or as you said, it's really political. It's really about stifling the conversation around migration, gender, climate. I mean, it's actually been less on race, more, a huge amount on trans issues. I mean, we just saw a British gentleman, Grant Linham, a famous television comedy writer, get arrested when he landed in Britain for having urged biological women to defend themselves from biological males that come into their bathrooms. So it is a very serious threat.
On that note, in Brazil recently, what happened was we have a congresswoman, and she's trans. She's a leftist trans woman, very vocal about trans issues. She was elected to Congress in our last election, 2022, and a feminist. She wasn't even famous or anything, but she tweeted.
And I was commenting on the elections, talking about parties and other things. And then, in between those things that I was talking about, I said that I was very disappointed for learning that the most voted woman in São Paulo was a man.
So this feminist tweeted this, and guess what? She's being prosecuted, and she can face 25 years in prison. 25 years in prison for saying a joke. Yeah, I guess the censorship industrial complex is very sensitive to trans issues, right?
Tucker, I think that the thing to keep our eye on is they've been trying to basically get governments to empower a mostly secret group of so-called NGOs that would be financed by the government and who would be telling the social media companies what to take down. In some places, they're more subtle with it than in others. That's the big threat. The Trump administration has done some great things to defund that. It was all going to work through NSF, and then Congress would have to bless it, and that was the way that they were going to do it. So the Trump administration has done a great job defunding that, and also holding a strong line on both Europe and Brazil, demanding that free speech protections be there. But obviously, we see some backsliding and some behaviors over the last couple of weeks that were lamentable. Certainly the Attorney General's comments, which she then later kind of went back on and said she didn't mean what she had said. And then obviously, or maybe not obviously, but a dust up over the FCC chair and his comments around Jimmy Kimmel, which I got to say, as the days go by and you look in retrospect, it just seems absurd. I mean, you had Democrats trying to create this elaborate censorship system, and then you had some bad mouthing of Jimmy Kimmel. It wasn't really, it wasn't great. I think it was inappropriate. But I think there was a lot of other complicating factors too, and there was economic concerns around Jimmy Kimmel and just sort of this demand that that he have to be carried on every television station. I think in retrospect, we won't look back on as not a great moment. I don't think the Trump administration covered itself in glory over the last couple of weeks on that, but on the European side of holding strong on free speech and also in standing up to Brazil, I do give the Trump administration credit.
Don't you love people that are able to remove themselves from a situation and give an unbiased opinion, especially about a government. It's not because you support a government that you can't criticize it. I'll tell you, no government is perfect. In fact, governments are inherently imperfect, and that's why they only work when everybody holds each other accountable. Citizens, voters, elected officials, public servants, and journalists. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop here. Go follow Shellenberger. You probably already follow Tucker. Follow me. Subscribe to my channel. I mean, we talk about freedom all the time, and it's fun. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, comment down below what you think. We'll see you on the next video, I guess. Bye.